Malo lava le soifua, manilangi mama, whaatalo whaatu, ma o whaalo whaatu ia te o tō uma, e lango malo si mai le tato polo kalame o Breaking Waves. Good morning, tai ao manuia. Hello, kia orana. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Waves. Thank you so much to all of our viewers, our supporters for watching us. Thank you to our sponsors, BlueNet and also Eveni Pacific, for making this episode possible. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we love. But thank you so much for all your support. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all we ask, is that you just follow us on YouTube. But thank you so much for coming on to another episode. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. I'm very excited to be hosting today. She is a Miss Samoa Queensland, all the way from Australia. Her name is Larona Junelle Tivoli. She is from the villages of Whangapua, Whaleapunga, Sapapali'i, and Maunga and Palauli. Welcome to the show, Larona. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you this morning?
Thank you so much for having me. I am very nervous, but I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. Thank you for coming on to our show. First of all, you're gorgeous. Miss Samoa Queensland did a very good job in picking their Miss this year, so I'm very excited. But please, tell us about you. Tell us about who you are.
So I was raised in New Zealand, Auckland. So I've lived here my whole life for the whole 19 years. And then just maybe like 2 years ago, I moved to Brisbane to be more independent and just, more opportunities. So I went to Massey High School growing up with all my siblings. I am one of 6 siblings. So I am the second eldest girl. But we all know how it's like being the eldest daughter in a Samoan family. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of work, the amount of responsibilities that come with it. And so I felt like I just had to be more independent. And so I moved to Australia about 2 years ago. I am 22 years of age. And I've always been doing Siva Samoa growing up. It was one part of me that kind of I did it, and I just wanted to continue doing it. It was like a way to be closest with my grandparents, with my ancestors.
And so what's inspired you to join the pageant?
Okay. So I have quite a big platform, and I've always had just like strangers reach out to me saying how much of an inspiration I am to them, how much they look up to me. And anytime girls like reach out, like I want to try my best to help others feel confident in themselves, be their best selves. And it's kind of encouraged me to, want to step foot into the bigger reality of it and help, especially our culture. And, just the deep cultural pride that I have for my culture. I want the world to know Samoa is here. We might be a small country, but our hearts are really big. And just our culture in general is just so beautiful. And I want the whole world to know who Samoa is and the beauty of our culture.
When we think about Samoan pageants, what comes to mind when someone says Samoan pageants?
Tautua. Service is a big part when it comes to wanting to be in the Miss Samoa pageant. Because sometimes we think like Miss Samoa pageant is just a pageant. It's way more than that. The responsibilities that we carry with it. It's more than just a pageant. It's serving your community, your people, honoring your ancestors, carrying the traditions through. It's so much more than just the title. And as Miss Samoa Queensland, it's not just a choice, it's a calling to give back to my own people and to my grandparents and my parents especially.
I love that. I think because a lot of people online see it's such a glamorous role. Like it looks like a glamorous role. You get the photos, the Siva videos, and the crowning and things like that. So there are a lot of misconceptions that what people think Samoan pageantry is about and what it represents. So I'm glad that you're able to kind of clarify the reality.
No, there's so much more to these pageants. Like online, it's glamorous, but the hard work and sacrifices that's behind the work, it's so much more than that.
Yeah. Tell me about the hard work that your family have contributed to your pathway into Miss Samoa.
I think growing up in New Zealand, but staying in Brisbane, mind you, in Brisbane, I have no family. So my family just kind of had to support me from afar. And growing up, you know, I was like a really big family girl. And so not having my family with me in Brisbane, in a whole other country, you know, taking it on by myself, it was really difficult and hard. Like at one point I thought I couldn't do it without my family, you know, because they've been my biggest support system, they've been my biggest why. But you know, even being oceans apart, they still find ways to be there for me, to help me, to encourage me, you know, inspire me to keep on going and to never give up. And so my family has just, they're the reason why I'm still going, you know, even when I feel like giving up, they've still inspired me to just do my best, you know, that I'm never alone. Even if I'm in another country, you know, they're still with me. My grandparents are still with me despite being in Samoa. My ancestors are with me. And so with that, I can just keep going, you know.
Yeah, I love that. So for you personally, how do you keep your culture alive in your everyday life?
In my everyday life, there's like big and small ways we can do that. So we can, for me, I speak Samoan now and then. Obviously, not being at home, we don't have kind of like, you know, we don't have to speak Samoan throughout the whole day, you know, 24/7, because I'm not at home. I'm in Australia. But to keep my culture alive, you know, we still speak Samoan. And it's not like, because there's no adults there, we can lose our fa Samoa. No, we still speak Samoan at home. Even through Siva Samoa, because when I was here in New Zealand, I was in a Samoan group, Lilau Samoa. Do you know that group?
No, but I will have a look into
No,
it.
yeah. So I used to dance in Lilau Samoa Juniors and then the Lilau Samoa Academy. So that was what helped me stay connected to my culture. So when I went to Brisbane, I felt like a part of me was missing because I wasn't, you know, I stopped doing Siva Samoa for a while, and I kind of lost who I was, you know, as a Samoan, as a Tamaitai Samoa. And so I went and I joined another group, Moana Dance Academy with my cousin. And when we started dancing again, like I felt like I was, you know, who I was before, you know. I never lost that side of who I was as a Tamaitai Samoa. So yeah, just for Samoa and your household, especially staying connected with Samoan friends, I feel like that helps a lot. And even if it's just at church, you know, my church is a Samoan AG, so we still stay connected to our culture in any way that we can. So I want to just continue all those little things, you know, helps me stay connected.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you've seen the discourse online, but there's a lot of people who are saying, you know, it's so hard to learn the language because they don't have access to the language. There's no online resources. I disagree. I think there is
100%. That there's yeah, that's just an excuse. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's an excuse too. And especially, you know, we have so much music and you love Siva Samoa, right? And I'm sure you've learned that actions represent certain words in the songs and that it works together. If you're learning Siva, you also learn the lyrics, the meaning of the songs. But going off, you know, you're very passionate about Siva Samoa. Tell us about what you love about it, like a few things you love about it the most.
So growing up, my parents would be like, you either speak Samoan or you don't speak at all in this household. Like, and then I would just like go quiet. But because growing up, you know, we had to speak Samoan. And when I spoke Samoan, my family would laugh at me. And so I actually, when it came, I'm the most plastic one out of my siblings because...
You're so cute.
You're so cute. I love this. Yeah, I'm a Samoa, but, you know, in my family, I'm the most plastic one. So, you know, they would just like laugh at me when I would say like certain Samoan words. And I would like, they don't know it, but like, my confidence kind of, you know, went downhill because of them. And so you know, I wouldn't try speaking Samoan. Like, I just gave up. Like, I don't want to be mocked in my family. But then growing up, like, I've kind of overcome that obstacle and just kept going with my fat Samoa. And you know, over years, you become better, you know. So just don't give up, you know. You know, my family would laugh at me, but
yeah. Give us.
what about now?
What
How
about now?
How about now?
Give us some, because I'm so sure that many youth or young people in diaspora go through similar situations. I mean, I've been through that, you know, where your cousins laugh at you. And give us some practical tips of someone going through that same situation, you know, might be ashamed, might be feeling down, of how they could conquer that.
Honestly, don't lose sight of who you are. Like, be confident in who you are, especially like you're Samoan, you're a Tamaita'i Samoan. Be proud of that, you know. And I wish I could go back and tell that to myself. That way I could just, you know, not give up and learning my own culture. But, you know, just to be confident and proud of who you are. You know, don't let people tear you down. You know, God's always with you. God's given you that strength to be who you are and to not hide that.
There you go, guys. You just got to brush off your hater ass cousins.
Keep them in a distance.
Yeah. And then when you know, you've perfected your Fa Samoa, just go back and be like, so what, guys? But yeah.
What's up?
If you could change one thing about the Samoan diaspora community, what would it be?
Entitlement.
Like, you feel like they're too entitled?
Yeah, I feel like if you know the Samoan way, you know, the Fa Samoa, you know that one of our biggest values as a Samoan is fa'aloaloa. So that's respect. I feel like a lot of us lose that growing up overseas. Like, we just forget where we come from, what our parents sacrificed, what our ancestors sacrificed. You know, our ancestors carried these traditions overseas, and it's so sad to see that we've kind of just lost that. You know, not all of us, but there are some of us that's kind of forgotten who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it a lot as well. I see it a lot in our communities, and I think it might be a product of, you know, navigating the Western world plus trying to be Samoan at the same time. So there's so many things to look into, but you're right. I'm with you on that one. You're also the granddaughter of Lawaki, who was, he is a Samoan mata. That's what he is, you know, a highly esteemed chief. So because you're from his bloodline, his lineage, what stories, could you share with us some stories that have been passed down your family about him?
So in my family, there's a photo of him in all of our households, you know, all of my aunties and uncles' house. There's a photo of my grandpa where, you know, back in his youthful days, there's a photo of him, and then there's a photo of Lawaki Namana Ulumamui. So there's not a house of my family that you would walk in and there wouldn't be his picture up on the wall. We like to keep his name alive by passing down his stories and, you know, keeping his photos up. But my family would always pass down stories about him, about how he was so brave. He was one of the first leaders to stand up during the Mau movement, and that was a really big thing back then. What he believed in was not losing our culture. You know, when it came to colonialism, he wanted to protect our culture and to move away from that. You know, so he fought for our culture to stay alive, and for that, that's like a big part of me that I want to keep our culture alive too, because back then, you know, he fought other people to keep our culture alive, and for me, I want to do that as well. You know, that's a big thing, because the same thing's happening now, but not in that way. And the ways that we have now, we're kind of losing our culture. So for me, being in his lineage, you know, I want to keep him alive by doing the same thing, because we're slowly losing our culture now, and we don't realize it. But there's this thing that I read where it's our parents is like the last bridge connected to us and our culture. Once our parents are gone, you know, the phone calls stop coming, with our aunties, you know, the visits stop. So we want to be able to keep our culture alive. So the stories that I've heard about him, you know, he's just such a brave young man, and it's such an honor to be related to such a man, you know, the sacrifices that he's done, the inspiration he was to many, many Samoans. And yeah, it's honestly, it's amazing.
Yeah. And you know, what I appreciate the most about our ancestors is how they fought those battles. They were very peaceful about it. And they stood firm, they stood together. But like towards some sese as well, you know, these people died, and they died without using any violence. And I think that's something so... Yeah, he uses words. And like, we're in such a time where freedom of speech is now seen as something like dangerous. And I've just seen it as like, you know, like your great grandfather, like, and that's such a strength. A power in our culture is how to use our oratory to solve problems. No matter how much you disagree, our ancestors have left a legacy that freedom of speech is something we respect and we value in our culture. And that's how our history is passed down through our... And the reason why I'm going on this little run, the reason why I'm going on this little run is, like you, I feel that a lot of Samoans in the diaspora have lost that value of respecting each other for their differences. And it could be the most bizarre differences, but our ancestors have taught us through colonial rule, you know. And I think it's something, like you mentioned, that we need to restore. And it lives through your grandfather.
Like, I never met Lawaki Namalaulu Mamoe, but the stories that I've heard of him, like, I'm truly touched by his sacrifices and what he stood up and what was right. Like, he never backed down. Even though it was so dangerous back then, he took that risk, and for our culture, he kept going. And I see that through my own grandpa, you know, the way he lives out his values, the way he is in Samoa. Like, he's a really well-known man. My grandpa is like my biggest inspiration as well. Like, he lives out, you know, my great-grandfather. Like, you can see him through my grandpa. And so I want to be one too. Like, can you see my grandpa and my great-grandfather through me? So I want to just, you know, live out the same values that they passed down. And it's crazy though, because like, that's the sacrifices that they did for us back then. Our ancestors, they did so much more than, you know, what we do. Like, we have it easy now, but the sacrifices that they went through, you know, we don't want it to be for nothing. You know, we want to keep our culture alive in any way that we can. Definitely not with violence though. But, you know.
And I just love the confidence that you emit, but that's because you know your genealogy. You know, that confidence doesn't just come from nowhere. You know, it comes from that deep connection to your family. And I would like to just say, like, this is the benefits when you connect, when you start to understand, you understand where you come from, and now you kind of like, you're set on your purpose, and you're so young, which is amazing. Man, I was your age, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was such a kiki. But we grow and we come better. So what are you looking forward to in the Miss Samoa Queensland pageantry journey?
I'm excited about many more people knowing about Samoa. I'm, you know, to help empower our youth, the next generation. I'm so lucky that I have, you know, the honor to help our Samoans, our young Samoans, stay connected to our family and our roots. You know, I don't want us to lose sight of that. But most of all, I just don't want us to lose our identity, you know. Angano was such a big thing, and obviously, like we talked about, we're kind of losing it now that we're overseas. So I just want to be able to keep our culture alive in any way that I can. And I know through this platform, I can do so, you know, in many different ways, you know, to help our community, empower the next generation, and just everything that I've learned from my grandparents, from my parents, I want to be able to pass it down to other people, you know, share what I know. And, you know, I don't know everything myself. Like, I'm still learning in the process. So ever since I've become Miss Samoa, I've learned so much more as well, you know. But I'm able to take the knowledge that I am learning and just pass it on, you know, because any knowledge that's, you know, has to do with Samoa, I want to be able to pass it on.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate that spirit about you, because from the responses I've received from my show on our content, honestly, over hundreds of thousands of comments of people just speaking about how scared they are to embrace their culture because they're afraid of being shamed by their own family. And you've come through that. You've conquered that, and you don't know everything there is, but you have this eager student attitude, like, I want to learn. I'm here to learn. I may not have everything, but I'm here to serve as well. And I think that's so amazing. So just to wrap this episode up, if there are girls who want to join the Queensland, Miss Samoa Queensland pageant in the future, what is your word of advice for them?
Remember our why, you know, remember where we come from, remember why you're doing it. You know, there's so much more. It's not a title, like I said, it's not a choice, it's a calling to honor your ancestors, to carry the same traditions that you've been taught, you know, to help our community remember who we are, where we come from. You know, you're Tamaita'i Samoa. That's a big flex, you know. Aloko mama, with the values that we've grown up as a Tamaita'i Samoa, the values that was passed down from our ancestors, our grandparents, our parents, to us, you know, never lose sight of who we are. Fa'aloalo is such a big thing, you know. That's one of our main values as a Tamaita'i Samoa. So, you know, don't forget that you're doing it for our culture, for our community, for our people. Don't forget, you know, the why behind why you're joining, you know. The values are the most important thing, you know, fa'aloalo, tautua, service, alofa, your ainga as well. You know, you're carrying all of these when you apply for Miss Samoa, you know, so just don't forget, it's not, you know, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. There's so much hardships that come with it, you know. When you accept being Miss Samoa, you're accepting all of the challenges that come with it. It is really rewarding and but also challenging, but you know, there's nothing that we can't overcome.
Love that. Thank you so much for joining us on our show. I wish you best for the rest of all the best. Sorry, I wish you all the best for your journey, and we'll have you back on again when you go and win everything else in the world.
No, cut that. Cut that.
Breaking waves.